I think it starts with building a personal brand. I think that's the biggest thing. I mean, a lot of brokers hide behind their agency name, and that gets you far, but it also stops at a certain wall.
Welcome to Benefits Broker Boost, the show that gives employee benefits brokers practical strategies to grow, scale, and streamline their business. Presented by Plansight, where innovation meets efficiency in employee benefits. Now, let's dive in.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Benefits Broker Boost. I'm joined today by Justin Burgess. Justin, thanks for being here. Justin's joining us all the way from Louisiana. Justin's been in the employee benefits space for over a decade. First 5 years at a local agency, which then sold to NFP. After selling to NFP, he was with NFP for 5 years. And then recently, I think I saw the announcement 3 or 4 weeks ago, started his own agency, Arete. I think I saw a video of you explaining what Arete means, but why don't you explain that for everyone so we kind of get that background?
Yeah, so it's the pursuit of excellence. And when I was thinking of a name, I was actually in Vegas with my wife at the time, and I was just looking around. I'm like, I don't want to be a 3-letter initial agency. I don't want to be Burgess Consulting Group. I'm like, let me think of a name. And I'm looking around. We're in Caesar's Palace. And I'm like, okay, the Greeks and Italians have good culture and words mean something. For the entire first half of my life, I was okay being average. And birth of my son, starting CrossFit, I've gotten to be like, okay, I want to be the best I can be. And before we started recording, we both kind of talked about this of like, we're trying to strive to be the best person, family, health person that we can be. And once I heard it and the domain was available, I was like, oh, great. Then I started researching like, okay, there's a lot of companies that have it in there, but I'm like, who cares? I think people resonate with, somebody that has some purpose behind it. So that was the purpose behind the name.
I love it. I love it. And so after a decade, I haven't really talked to anyone so far, and I've talked to a lot of people in the industry. I haven't talked to many people that was their goal was to be an employee benefits broker. They kind of get into it different ways. So what got you into the industry, and more specifically, what keeps you going in this industry?
Yeah, so my family owned a very successful seafood restaurant in New Orleans for about 30 years. Hurricane Katrina ended up wiping us out completely. So I've always kind of been around business. Went to LSU, then went to finish at UNO for a little bit. And I was just applying for jobs randomly. And we had a bunch of friends get into like the, life insurance game. And then, so I've always heard it. Applied to a random job on the internet, had an interview. I was driving to hockey at the time. It was the worst interview I did ever. And I got declined. I was like, okay, I'll never hear from them again. Well, the agency owner at the time called me back because in New Orleans, Louisiana, if you say, hey, where you went to school, you don't say LSU, you say your local high school. So I went to Jesuit High School of New Orleans, which is a very prominent high school in the city. A lot of working class people, as well as a lot of wealthy individuals as well, but it's very middle class-ish high school. And he's like, look, I want to interview you, come to my office. He's like, when I've met people that work for family businesses, kids, it's either one of two ways. You're either the hardworking kid or you're the kid that asks for money and does other stuff on the weekends. He's like, which one are you? I'm like, well, I was working in the business with my father, doing payroll, washing dishes, bussing tables, whatever I could do. I was 14 at the time. So, I kind of always wanted to be around my father, and took a job with Tom Daly at NFP, or we were Benefit Administration Group at the time, and we turned into NFP years later. But what kind of got me excited about the business is like, it wasn't insurance at the time. It was technology. It was like things were evolving. And I started when Ease or Ease Central, now Employee Navigator, we were the first broker in Louisiana to get access to Ease at the time. So we were like working with employers that have never had technology. And like, that was the cool thing. Like, oh, we can do things faster and easy. So that's my short story of how I got in the business. It was an accident. And what kind of keeps me in the business is like the evolvingness of it. It's like things are changing. It's not, you can't sell off a technology and service. It's like, okay, what can you do on the cash pay, direct primary care, the really cool stuff? I think that's what's winning groups right now.
Yeah. I think I see a lot of really strategic brokers right now kind of salivating at the point that the market is coming to, right? We're getting to a point where you have to be strategic, or I would say we're potentially in the biggest state of flux that the industry's seen in a long time because of all of the increases. I have a lot of business owner friends, and I can think of probably 4 or 5 posts in the last week of 40% plus increases this year to their business. So Yeah, that's like you said, it's ever evolving, getting creative, really helping the businesses. So I love that. So you've been around with NFP. You've had exposure to a lot of different brokers. You've seen people that have been massively successful, I'm sure, and people that have struggled. I want to know, in your eyes, you've been able to succeed through a couple different transitions and now into your own business. What are the differentiators between the people who succeed in this business and the people who maybe just get by and or even wash out and struggle?
I think it starts with building a personal brand. I think that's the biggest thing. I mean, a lot of brokers hide behind their agency name, and that gets you far, but it also stops at a certain wall. I think a lot of my competitors, I mean, no offense to, I mean, I'm gonna throw it out there. They hire ex-athletes that were LSU baseball players or football players, or they hire attorneys or CPAs that want to be into the insurance business because they see that it's very lucrative. And those guys and girls are very successful from a opening the door. But if you have to constantly bring in other people to help sell your business or bring in the solutions expert or the person that's really going to do all the talking, well, that employer is going to know that Justin's just a door opener and he does nothing once it's done. And I think I got very lucky that I grew up as the account manager, account associate, AVP, whatever title you want to call me. I was the let's get this group whatever they need, get it done, and move on to the next one. And I think that's what builds a strong producer is the one that has a personal brand that people resonate with. You found me on the internet to do this podcast, so it proves that it's working. Now you're not my target audience from me making a client,
No.
but I talked to an employer yesterday that I haven't talked to in 5 years, and she answered my call. And I was like, hey, I know you guys are with X broker. Just wanted to call and see how things are going. Thanks for liking and supporting my comments because look, I do look at who likes and comments and shares because, there's certain people that are constant. But then you talk to someone like I went to my high school reunion, I think it was like 2 years ago. And a couple of my buddies came up to me. He's like, hey man, you look so successful. And I'm like, that's weird. I've never seen you like anything. Like, yeah, I've been following you. And I'm like, well, first, I'm not successful yet. I mean, if you have a picture of what successful is, I think I'm on the cusp of it. But the fact that you're seeing what I'm doing is proof that the social media game works. Now, it's hard to correlate that to revenue from an agency perspective because it is a time kill. Like I'm filming for TikTok and YouTube and Instagram right now.
Yeah.
I have to go and edit that. I have to go make prompts and work on my captions. It's a whole nother thing. But I can, from an agency perspective, like, okay, I can go spend time at a SHRM event or a networking event. Is that going to bear any fruit? Probably not.
Yeah.
So I think it's the ones that just are adapting to the future.
Yeah. I love that. Actually, I did a podcast episode 2 days ago that'll air in a couple weeks. And we had the same conversation is both the podcast guests and myself have had exposure to a lot of different business owners in our careers. And we can almost pinpoint the ones that have a really good position statement. This is what I do as a business. This is my purpose. Yours is pretty clear in all of your messaging. You're going to be the most creative, the most strategic broker that you can for all of your clients, right? And you've got to stand on that position and make it known to as many people as possible. So I like that you called that out as kind of the differentiator between those who are really successful and those who are maybe.
I'll add one more thing. Like you can't be preaching health and wellness if you're not taking care of your personal self. Like you can't be the one saying, hey, we need to do, wellness checks on your employees and build it into your plan design. If you're the producer that's coming in and you don't dress appropriately or you look sloppy in your life. And I think, and there's no knock, like I don't think people need to do fitness to lead a healthy lifestyle. If you want to join a book club and I just want to see that you're engaged in something outside of this business that generates you money. And if you're passionate in X, then that's going to correlate to better stuff in your business. But I do know there's a lot of producers out there that are just coasting and very average in their outside life.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. So you are basically everywhere with your social media content, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok. Give us a few of your favorite ways that you've used in the past to grow your book of business and that you're using now for Arete to grow your new business.
Oh, well, I think early on the social media stuff was I was actually interviewing, carrier partners and vendors or people that I just want to have conversation with. And it was like, okay, let them do all the talking so they sound smarter than me. Now it's like, okay, well, now I need people to see me as a thought leader. So I've kind of flipped into like, okay, what's just going on in my daily life as working for my employer clients? And it's like, okay, Humera, $6,000 a month. We can source it for $2,000. Like, that's a good post. I'm at Trader Joe's with my wife, or I'm at Aldi with my wife. And I'm like, oh, the chicken is $10 or $12. And we both grab the one that's cheaper. And I'm just trying to tell people like, look, everything in our personal life, we're very cognizant of what things cost. But when it comes to healthcare, we just like give up and we're like, okay, I don't really care. But that's the point. Like your employees are clipping coupons. Like they're making smarter decisions outside of their 9 to 5. But when it comes to healthcare, they just go to the doctor and trust that they're sending them to the right MRI facility that's going to give them the best MRI. But that best MRI costs $2,000 when in reality it should cost $200.
Yeah.
So I think that's what really just drives me right now.
Yeah. I love that. So yeah, that's in terms of how you're using that, you're just looking at things that are happening in your daily life and how can this be applicable to people that are making decisions for their benefits packages, people that are my potential customers. How can I layer that in and teach a lesson along with that and putting that everywhere you can?
Correct. Because people are not on social media to be like, okay, this is the new HSA contributions for 2026. Like, here's the new blog post that my 3-letter initial agency has crafted for us that producers basically just have a database of content. I'm like, everything in my life is content. And I want so the person I talked to yesterday, she's like, hey, Justin, I also lost 50, 60 pounds as well. And like, I'm happy for you. Like I've watched your journey over the last 3 years. I didn't know that about her.
Yeah.
She doesn't post about it. But I'm like, that's cool. We started talking about, I'm big into men's hormones health. That's my kind of thing in life. And she was talking about women's hormones. And I was like, look, we bonded over something that we both had no clue that each other had. So me posting my personal fitness life connected with her. Now, if there's a guy that doesn't like that, I'm not his target broker and he's not my target audience. So my goal is to look, I have 2 kids. It's crazy. I'm running a business. I'm helping employers. I'm into fitness and I'm very opinionated on what I want to say. And if you don't like it, there's the unfollow button. There's plenty of people that are posting great content, but I do kind of tailor my message to what I say on LinkedIn versus TikTok to Instagram to YouTube because it does, you have different audiences.
Yeah.
But your CFO or CEO is probably not on LinkedIn, but he's on Facebook.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to always, and my goal is like, hey, if I meet you, Adam, you're a CFO at an employer, I met you somewhere, I'm going to add you on all these platforms and you're going to see my name eventually pop up. And when I call you in 6 months, oh, that's you, you're the guy.
Yeah. I love that. I'm a CMO, right? So I continuously preach this to everyone at the company. Marketing is not, hey, this is the strategy that got us all of the business. Marketing is a network of different things working together. I talked to our company yesterday about the rule of 7. And the rule of 7 is that before someone transacts with you, they will on average have had exposure to your business 7 times. And if you're just doing one channel, I'm just going to run LinkedIn ads or I'm just going to do this channel. You've got to try to get exposure 7 times. So you need to be everywhere. Again, taking that position like you talked about in the last question we talked about of this is how I'm differentiating. And yeah, I see you doing that. And that's ultimately, it might be hard to track where all of the business came from, but it's that ecosystem is going to work together till where so I track attribution, right? I say, this is the channel that so-and-so came from. The number of times that attribution differs from what the client says, because they don't remember, they saw you 7 times. So they come in through your Google ad and you're like, yeah, Google ads works really well. But then they're like, no, I actually heard about you from this influencer. The influencer, they Googled you, clicked on the ad because that was what was the top. And so you have to look at the whole ecosystem and you're doing that. You're everywhere. You're putting that content out. So
I'll tell people, don't look at metrics. Analytics for a producer, like engagement wise, it's not the same as a CPG company that's selling supplements or, you selling to brokers because like brokers are more on LinkedIn than employers. So you're going to get better traction than me trying to market to them. My engagement is all carrier relation vendors. Every now and then it's an employer or a prospect. I had a post on LinkedIn yesterday, get 15,000 impressions in a day. I had an Instagram post that is at 180,000 views in like 2 weeks. Like, has that got me a lead personally? No, but does that get eyeballs? Like if you Google Justin Burgess, New Orleans, I will pop up. And that's the goal of every producer is like your agency is renting your name. That's how you have to think about it is like, okay, now if they Google best insurance broker in New Orleans, I hope I pop up. I'm working on the stuff to make that pop up, by the way. The point is just trying to be everywhere. And Andy Neary and I've talked about this all the time, is like the years before, like 10, 15 years ago, it was producers were told to go to country clubs and hang out where CFOs and CEOs hang out. They don't hang out there. Like, they're not. The CFOs or CEOs are running marathons in the morning or trying to get a workout in before they have to go to run their business. So you just have to be where they may be. And it's most likely they're going to be on social media.
That's awesome. Okay. So you talk about taking a strategic approach for your clients, right? Strategic planning. I think a lot of brokers talk about that. And I know with Arete, that's one of your core benefits. Walk us through what that looks like with one of your clients, with your agency. How does that strategy look in opposed to what kind of a traditional strategy session might look like?
Well, I think the market has trained employers and brokers to just quote it out and hope and pray. I think you actually obviously have to do that, but you have to be cognizant of like what's driving your group. And the problem with most of my employer clients is mostly fully insured groups that should be transferring to a self-funded platform. So the problem is you're working with limited data. So you almost have to obviously do the crawl, walk, run approach where let's just get you into a platform that's giving you access to data. But let me just show you what, if we had full data, looks like. So I have some sample drug reports, also have a database where I can pull up like for a total knee replacement in New Orleans, one hospital charges $5,000 and the other hospital charges $15,000. Well, your fully insured carrier is digging you for your claims because your claims are high. Well, you can't control your claims if you can't control where your people are going to get access to care. So I think just giving people the strategic, like, hey, this is where I want to take you in 5 years. This is how we're going to get there. Year one is we're going to move you to a level funded vendor that gives us some transparency around the drugs. Because most fully insured plans will give you a top 10 drug report, but they don't give you quantity. They don't give you the dosing. So they really don't give you anything to be like, okay, I can save you $500,000 on your drugs because I know that this drug is dosed at this amount and I can source it here for X. So I think once you just explain to people the strategy behind like the proactive approach to healthcare versus the reactive and just quoting the market and hoping and praying that it comes back good, people understand. But obviously once you're into a level funded or self-funded arrangement, you have the data to really be strategic. So if you see, a dialysis on there, you work with the dialysis vendor to pump that. If you see you have a bunch of diabetics, then you bring in the appropriate resources to manage that group. I think I look at myself as the quarterback. That's kind of putting all the pieces together, but you need that once you have access to data.
That's awesome. Coming from the outside, like I said, I've been in this industry I've been obviously a user of health insurance for my whole life, but coming into this industry, I think the outside doesn't realize how much strategy potential is actually in this business. I had a friend yesterday post that he was getting a 40% increase on his premiums. He's a business owner, fairly substantial business, and he's using a PEO. And so he doesn't know what's going into that increase. He just knows it's an increase. And he didn't understand that, hey, there's someone that could put a lot more strategy together for you for the size of company that you have that could potentially save you a lot of money. But how are you educating, because that is the case, right? With a lot of people that are purchasing benefits, how are you educating people to exactly how much strategy can be put into benefits?
Well, I think the market's doing the education for us. I mean, I don't know if you saw Mark Cuban on the news yesterday.
Yeah,
I just chopped it up into a video and sent it to a CEO. Like, I put myself in, I was like, hey, this is what I'm talking about. Like, if you don't believe me, because that's the problem. Like, look, we're all in sales. We're all trying to sell you something. We're trying to get one over on you. But no, it's like this is real. He's a very successful, business owner and entrepreneur. And why is he invested so heavily in this? Because he knows it's a messed up system. So I think once you just educate employers on that kind of stuff, it just makes it super easy for this whole process. Like, why is Congress grilling big 3 PBMs right now? It's unfortunate, but it's the American people that are getting the short end of the stick. I posted yesterday, the average salary in America is like $35,000 a year. Most employers have a $6,000 deductible plan. That's financially crippling your employee demographic.
Actually uninsured, right? They can't actually use it.
Can't use it.
I saw that post, and that's resonates, I think, a lot with a lot of people, but they don't know how to fix it. So that's your education points that you're talking about. Very cool. All right. So you talk a lot about data-driven decision making. It's one of your focus areas. I've talked to a lot of brokers that kind of struggle here. they when they talk about like, here's our data, it's how much did we produce this year? And they struggle to get a lot of data in between that. So how are you using data to inform decisions for both your business and your clients? That's probably two separate questions. Let's go business first and then clients second.
I mean, the business is just being smarter about how I'm operating. So I'm using a lot of like LMMs personally for myself to build engines for myself to kind of optimize how I run my business. I'm trying to automate as much as I can possible, obviously in a HIPAA protected environment. I'm not putting any confidential information in there, but it's also working with vendors that you know and trust ultimately. Like I don't believe in a partnership list because I think it does hurt the ones that may come to you last minute and say, "Hey, I found you on the internet. You know, we just launched this in this state. I heard you'd be a good," like, I'll give you a shot, but ultimately I do have to kind of narrow my list down because, that's like if I put a group with that carrier vendor, like I'm trusting that they're delivering the results that I need for me and my clients. So I think from an agency, like we have so much stuff to manage, and we were talking about what Plansight does. Like that's just a piece of the puzzle of marketing. But then I'm talking about online enrollment, like compliance, like all of that is some data to an extent, and making sure that things kind of flow appropriately to each of the different puzzles. For my employer clients, it's there's a lot of these platforms out there that audit claims and in real time. So I think that's the things that people, they get so focused on, like, oh, my premium versus claims or my high claimant reports. Like, yeah, that's a sliver of data, but like we need to talk on the higher level of like auditing claims for fraud in real time. Like the large carriers, they have this, but it's all automated AI junk. Like you need a person doing it. So there's a couple of vendors I like partnering with that are very passionate, very big on LinkedIn as well. Um, and that's where I think you can make some value for employers is like, I can lower your insurance by just auditing the claims that you currently have because I can guarantee you there's fraud and abuse.
Yeah, explain that. We'll have a lot of employers that probably watch this episode. So explain that fraud. I think that's a blind spot for a lot of
Double billing for the same service on a claim. I mean, these systems behind the scenes for TPAs, third party administrators, or just major carriers, they're so automated. And I think the biggest problem in healthcare is not the insurance, it's the provider. The people that are doing the basic data entry work, I don't want to pick on them, but probably less educated, just not in tune with the actual behind this. Like they can press a button that causes the insurance to say not active pretty quickly, or they can type a wrong CPT code in that will get paid as a claim that the service was not actually rendered. So, having a baby at the hospital, getting charged for like tissue boxes and like those like little things that just add up over time. We say like over $10,000 in claim or for a service, we'll audit it. It's just those nuanced things that people like, why do I need to be doing this? Is like, you should be doing it because it's, every business has errors. We're all human. Like we all want to go to this AI stuff to automate all this stuff. But, I'm just thinking like in my personal life of, I'm like, what? My phone bill sometimes is off every now and then, and I call and like, okay, this was done here. So I think just people need to know that every business is human. We all make mistakes. In healthcare, that mistake can be thousands of dollars that you're overpaying.
I'll elaborate on that a little bit. I come from the dental industry, right? There are groups of dental office managers, dental insurance billers that they just give each other information. There's not an education course. There's not very many education courses that say this is exactly how you have to bill this. So different offices will choose to bill things differently, and some of it may not even be legal, but unless they get audited, it's going to get billed to your insurance. And if it looks okay, yep, if it doesn't, if it's not two things that couldn't be done on the same tooth or two things that couldn't be done for the same person, then a lot of times it just passes through to you. So yeah, I think that's something that I haven't personally thought about is, someone in between auditing, hey, is this allowed to be on this? Did they bill this the right way? Because there's a lot of people that are in charge of putting the bills together and keying in the procedures that their education is someone saying, yeah, do it like this.
Yeah. Or the dose of a medication does not make sense. And if you expense drug A by itself, it's this much money. But if you expense drug A and B separately at this dose, it's $1,000 cheaper. Like the insurance is going to pass the drug A through because they're like, this is approved, we will pay for it. But like, why do we need to overpay for a drug when in reality, that person can take 2 pills, cost them less money and us less money. So that's like, you need higher level nurses, like people that understand medical stuff to like audit these claims and just say, hey, no, like we're not paying this. This makes no sense at all. And that's the part that I didn't understand how healthcare worked for the first 10 years of my career. I was the guy that's like, okay, quote, shop. Now I'm just like, okay, flip the script on insurance. It's not insurance, it's healthcare. We get confused on health insurance and healthcare. Like, you're not mad at your insurance carrier, you're mad at your healthcare provider that is lazy. Like they never really want to help you. Like, it takes 3 months for me to get an appointment at my PCP. I stopped going to my PCP. I'd use direct primary care now. You send a message, it goes nowhere. They'll respond in maybe like 8 hours to our patient portal. They're overworked and underpaid. The whole industry is.
Okay. So we know this, but the benefits landscape is evolving really quickly. In the past decade, you talked about being one of the original agencies on Employee Navigator, right? So there's digital health platforms that are coming in. There's voluntary benefits that are changing pretty much every day. What emerging trends are you most excited about, and why?
This one's got me going. So I'm going to go back in time. I think we need to simplify it and just give everybody a phone number to give access to a human. I think we're so entrenched on giving people so much information at one time that we just need to give them a person. So I think it all starts with direct primary care. Like, I was going to actually call my direct primary care doctor and like they'll pick up in like 30 seconds. That's the point. Like, I want things to be electronic and digital and super fast and talk to a chat bot and say, hey, I need to go get an MRI in New Orleans. Can you tell me how much this will cost? Like, I like that personally, but the average population is not like me. They're a mix of your demographics. So I think giving people access to a human needs to be the first thing. I love all these systems that are out there that are creating efficiencies for employers. And like, I have a HR director in Florida that's very prominent on LinkedIn. And she's like, I've stopped doing open enrollment meetings in person because it's a waste of time. And I agree with her, but like, we need to give them access to people that can answer their phone quickly and not in some virtual queue. And from a care perspective, we need to give your employees access to care quick. If you ever use telemedicine baked into your health insurance, it's garbage. Go into a phone tree. It takes forever. If you hang up on that doctor, you'll never get the doctor ever again. With DPC, I got Dr. Dan at my DPC and he's always taking care of me. So I think that's the simple. I think I love technology, but I also love when things are simple.
Here's my take on technology. I use a lot of technology, but technology, what excites me most about AI and technology is its ability to take away the really annoying parts of redundancy, right? Where I've got to go do this thing over and over and over again, but it's not a human interaction. So in my eyes, what makes technology most exciting is its ability to free up our time for more human interaction. And so, but I think you're exactly right. I think people need the opportunity to, if they don't want to deal with a chatbot, they need a person that's there. But that chatbot should be freeing up the person that's there's time for the people who do want to use that chatbot, right? Like if it's you on the other end and you're just like, I want to know, the chatbot just give me the answer. That's time that someone that's on the phone doesn't need to spend with you, right? But they can spend it with someone else that doesn't want to engage with that chatbot. When technology is used appropriately, it frees up the person's time to have more of those human interactions in the situations where it matters. I love that take on it. Okay, you talked about your mission being building strong, lasting partnerships with employer clients. I think a lot of brokers have this, this idea as their mission as well. But what are some of the things you feel are often overlooked when people are nurturing those relationships? And what are some things that you're doing that are kind of above and beyond what a lot of other brokers are doing?
Starts with you as the broker, consultant, advisor, whatever you want to call yourself that day. I think we sell, but then we also kind of fade out into the sunset. And I think that's the goal of every agency. As much as they tell you, okay, I stay with you for life, they don't. I've always been like that because, like, being in a family business, like, my dad knows everybody in the city. If he finds out that I was treating Mr. Smith like that, he would come and call me and be like, what are you doing? You treat everybody the same way, regardless of business size. I think the employers know that, like, hey, you're not my largest client. Like, if you're 10 employees, like, you're not the largest client. But if you call me and you're respectful of how you ask a question, I'm going to give you the same level of respect back. But I think that's the thing that brokers, you're selling yourself at the end of the day. You're not selling your agency or your team. You're selling yourself and what you can do for that employer, and they buy from you. Now, some employers, I've always said, like, no one got fired for hiring IBM back in the day. Like, they picked it for a reason, and that's not my demographic of employers. Like, if you're 600,000 lives, you really want a nice logo that's on a publicly traded list. But if you're a 80 life construction guy that just has a lot of employees because you're doing these government contracts and you just want someone to call at 7 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the morning, I'll be up most likely. I'm not going to ignore you. Or if you're the guy that, like, hey, can I call you at 8 o'clock at night? Sure. Like, but I've been in some corporate environments where they don't want employees doing that kind of stuff. This was funny. We had a hotel client and they're like, hey, can you do the night shift at midnight? I'm like, yeah, give me a hotel room and I'll do it. Slept there, woke up at 12. And I think that's what being an entrepreneur is like. You can make the calls to do whatever you want. And some agencies are like, if you're under a certain size employer, we can't go on site anymore. It just doesn't make sense because that account executive's got, 50 groups renewing for January 1st. And that producer can't because he's being told that he makes more money to go get new business than to retain the current business. So that's the problem that I'm struggling with, and most producers are, is like, we're all incentivized to go get new business, but it's like, what about the guy that gave you a shot when you first started out? That is I'm thinking of my garage guy. He fixed my garage door. He's a 2-person company. The guy is super nice on the phone. And anytime I need my garage door fixed or service, I call him, text him, and his guy's out within a couple hours. Like, I will answer his phone call no matter what. He's just a real guy. He works on massive projects, but he's just so nice and honest that I'm just like, okay, you call, I answer. Like, it's just, I'll never ignore you. So
you're giving them that personal connection that a larger broker, a larger agency might not even be able to give them based on kind of rules of the agency.
Yeah. Some agencies don't pay producers on certain size business. The revenue threshold's $10,000 to $15,000 in annual revenue to even work on a small employer. Now, I don't want to be known as Justin only works on small employers. I just think like most of America is small employers. Small is very defined differently amongst everybody. I think I look at small employers under 50 employees, but large agencies probably under 25 employees is fair. And those are cool companies, CPA firms, lawyers, a dental office. Talking to one guy in my school who's a dental office, he's got 10 employees. Like, they make money. They pay their bills. Why shy away from them? So,
and yeah, being accessible and being willing to take the time with people to make sure they're all worried about their business, right? So when they need help and you offer them help, you are doing that. You're building that lasting partnership with your clients. So, okay, last question, and maybe one of my favorites. The space is changing a lot, right? We see it every single day. We see Mark Cuban yesterday, right? Talking about health insurance and pharmacy benefits managers specifically. But what gets you most excited about being in the employee benefits space in 2025?
I kind of used up all my answers. I think direct primary care is one of them, but I really just think it's being able to help people really with their money. That's the thing that gets exciting. Because like I used to call it like the kudos emails or like the attaboys. When you get that email, it's like, hey, you saved me $300 a month because my drug's now 300 to 0. Like, that's awesome. That's a big win. And we get yelled at all day long. Like, most of my conversations are negative. I talk to my wife about this all the time. Like, it's like, you're not happy. I'm like, well, because most of the time it's like, I can't go get this drug or I can't go get this service. And you got someone just yelling and it's not fun. But then you get every now and then you'll get the text or phone call or email, be like, hey, Janet's super appreciative. Like, thank you for helping us with that application to get her drug covered through a PAP program. Like, that's awesome. Then you got the massive wins. That's like, this person got that surgery for free that would have cost them $6,000 without. Like, that's a massive win. But it's like, people care about even the 10. Like, I think all generics should be free. Every generic drug, just make it free. Why do we need to charge people $5 or $3? Like, just make it free. Like, who cares? So like, if you save me $20-$30 a month or $300 a month, like, we have kids. Like, I know what my little soccer top thing cost me to just join that every 3-6 months. Like, people have bills and activities they want to do in their daily life that money can go a long way. So if we can build plan designs that help them save money on the actual care, that's what gets me excited. Is like, I'm in this business for the right reasons. Yes, I want to make money. I want to help employers. I want to grow my business, but I also want to provide my employer clients the savings to do really cool things, like give everybody free direct primary care for free, give everybody free generic drugs. or being able to have certain procedures where we can make it totally free because we're using high quality centers of care. That's what's really, really cool.
I see that in your strategy, a tipping point, like there's almost a breaking point here where I'm seeing so much frustration around the premium increases this year that it's going to cause people to think differently about their healthcare. And someone who's strategic like you is going to have a heyday there, right? It's, well, let's get strategic about it and let's figure out something that works for you. Where someone who's just kind of on autopilot, a year increases 20%, year increases 30%, that's not going to go so well.
I love networks, and I won't name the big networks out there, but we all know who they are. But at what's the breaking point where it doesn't make sense financially to have a network where I can just negotiate cash and just call it a day? I think people are already doing it now, but people don't know they can design a health plan that literally works the same way. Like I can create a cash pay virtual credit card for your employees real time right now. So your employee goes to the doctor, they'll call the advocate and say, hey, or we'll try to do it in advance typically, but like we can create it almost in real time for that doctor to get paid like that. And providers want cash. They also, I mean, I have a provider client. He said he typically gets paid 60 to 90 days out. I don't know what the average is for a healthcare provider, but
That's for dental. It's normally 60 days is well, 30 to 60 days is a healthy AR days for a dental practice.
yeah. So I don't know what kind of cash you have to like float your business on, but like if I take somebody, give me money now, like that's great. I can go pay my bills versus that claim will get denied or will get pended for more information. That takes us 90 days to get it because my employee of the dental office didn't send in the right paperwork to get it approved. Like I think providers are going to direct primary care and going to this. I don't want to deal with insurance because they just want to do what they enjoy. It's in helping their patients. They don't want to be in the insurance business. That's why most dental offices are not taking insurance.
A lot of them are.
So
it's awesome. Well, Justin, I appreciate you being on the show today. Everyone who joined, thank you for being here. I hope that you took something away that you can go and apply, whether that's some of the ideas behind what Justin's doing for marketing, which is working really well, whether that's kind of the mentality that he takes as a broker. But Justin, thanks again for your time.
yeah, thank you. And I'm always on LinkedIn. If you send me a message, I respond within like 20 seconds. It's my bad habit. So you'll find me on the internet if you need help.
That's how I got you.
That's how you got me. I responded within like 20 seconds.
Awesome. Okay. Thanks again, Justin.